Hello everyone. Today I want to tell you about the afternoon I finally opened my wardrobe properly, stood in front of it, and counted. 43 items of hanging clothing, 17 of which I had not worn in the past year, 6 of which no longer fit the way they used to, 4 of which I did not actually like when I looked at them honestly, one of which I was not entirely sure I had ever worn at all and could not remember buying. And yet all of them had been living in that wardrobe, taking up space, creating the visual clutter that makes getting dressed feel like an excavation rather than a simple daily act. The bedroom is supposed to be the room in your home where you begin and end every day in a state of calm. It is the most personal room in the house, the room that belongs most completely to you. And for many of us, it has become, gradually and almost invisibly, one of the most cluttered. Not with things that arrive dramatically all at once, with things that accumulated slowly over years. The clothing from a previous chapter of life, the items kept just in case, the things that drifted in and never drifted out. Today I want to take you through exactly how I decluttered my wardrobe and my bedroom, completely and quickly, in a way that has stuck and that has made getting dressed and maintaining that space significantly easier ever since. This is not theory. This is what I actually did. Step 1. Take everything out of the wardrobe before you make a single decision. I know this sounds like it is going to create chaos before it creates order. That is exactly what it does. And the chaos is necessary. When clothes are hanging in a wardrobe or folded in drawers, they are invisible in a very specific way. You see them, but you stop registering them. They have been there long enough that your brain classifies them as part of the furniture rather than as objects that are each occupying space and requiring a decision. When you take everything out and lay it on the bed or drape it over a chair or pile it on the floor, 2 things happen. First, you see everything at once rather than piece by piece, which gives you a clear picture of the actual volume of what you own. Second, you are forced to make a decision about each item individually, because each one needs to go somewhere, and it can no longer hide. I took every item of clothing out of my wardrobe on a Saturday morning when I had uninterrupted time and decent energy. I draped everything over the bed and across the chair in the corner. The quantity was genuinely startling. I had not realized how much was in there until it was all outside of it. Then I did something that immediately made the process feel enjoyable rather than draining. I started with the clothes I loved. Step 2. Shop your own wardrobe by starting with the things you genuinely love. Instead of beginning with the question of what to get rid of, I began with the question of what I love. I picked up each item in turn and asked myself, do I love this? Is this something I am happy to see? Does it fit me well right now and suit the life I am actually living today? When the answer was clearly yes, the item went back into the wardrobe immediately, not set aside for later consideration, back in, because it has earned its place. And when you start by putting back the things you genuinely love, the wardrobe begins to fill up again with items that are there by intention rather than by inertia. The things you love define the standard, and everything else is measured against that standard. This is what I think of as shopping your own wardrobe, and it is the best way I have found to make the process feel positive rather than like deprivation. You are not losing things. You are rediscovering the things you actually love and giving them the space they deserve. That distinction matters. When you approach the wardrobe as someone removing what does not belong, rather than someone getting rid of things, the emotional experience of the whole process changes. You are curating, not purging. You are choosing, not sacrificing. Tell me in the comments, when you look at your wardrobe right now, roughly how many items do you think are in there that you have not worn in over a year? You do not have to count exactly, just your honest estimate. I ask because most people are genuinely surprised by the number, and being honest about it is where this whole process begins. Step 3. Apply 3 clear rules to every item you are not immediately sure about. Not every item is a clear yes or a clear no. Some are the particular agony of maybe, worn occasionally but not loved, kept for reasons you cannot quite articulate, associated with a past chapter of life that still holds emotional weight. For these, I use 3 questions, and the 3 questions together produce a clearer answer than any single question would. Have I worn this in the past year? Do I love how it looks on me right now as I am today? And if I were in a shop and saw this item, would I buy it again? If the answer to all 3 is yes, it stays. If the answer to any one of them is no, I think seriously about whether it should leave. 2 no answers, and it is almost certainly leaving. 3 no answers, and it has been in my wardrobe on borrowed time. The 3rd question is the one I find most clarifying. Would I buy this again? Not at the time I originally bought it, with the priorities and the life I had then. Right now, today, knowing how I actually live and what I actually do. If the honest answer is no, then keeping the item is paying storage space for something you would not choose to bring into your home if you encountered it fresh. That is a difficult realization and also a very freeing one. One specific situation that many of us face at this stage of life: clothing from previous professional roles. The suits and formal blouses and structured pieces from years of working that no longer match the daily reality of retired life. The 3 questions handle these clearly and gently. Have I worn it in the past year? For most retired people, the answer to this question about professional clothing is no. Does it suit the life I am living now? No, because I no longer go to those offices or attend those events. Would I buy it again today? Almost certainly not, because the need it was purchased for no longer exists. The decision makes itself, and making it is not a loss. It is an honest acknowledgement that your life has moved into a new chapter, and your wardrobe should reflect that chapter rather than the one before it. If you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe now. Every week I share this kind of real, practical guidance from experience on decluttering and organizing a home at this stage of life. The conversations in the comments are genuinely wonderful, and I read every one. Step 4. Organize what remains by how often you actually use it. Once you have decided what is staying, how you organize it makes a significant difference to how easy the wardrobe is to use on a daily basis. The principle I use is simple. The things I reach for most often go in the most accessible places, and the things I use rarely go in the harder to reach places. For clothing, this means the things I wear regularly go at the front of the wardrobe at eye level and arm height, where I can see them clearly and reach them without effort. Seasonal items I will not be wearing for the next several months go to the back, where they are out of the way until they become relevant again. Occasion wear that is used only a few times a year goes at the far end. Within drawers, I have found enormous benefit from rolling or folding clothing vertically so that items stand upright in the drawer rather than lying in flat stacks. This single change made every drawer in my bedroom significantly easier to use because I can see everything at a glance without moving anything. I no longer dig through layers to find the item I want at the bottom. Everything is visible simultaneously, which means I find things quickly, I put things away correctly, and I never forget what I own. The drawer organization itself is kept very simple. One drawer for everyday clothing worn closest to the body. One drawer for tops. One drawer for bottoms. One drawer for heavier items like knitwear. The categories do not need to be elaborate. They need to be clear enough that returning items to the right drawer is automatic, rather than requiring any decision. Step 5. Create a dedicated spot for clothes that are between wearings. This is the organizing tip that made one of the most immediate and visible differences in how my bedroom looked and how much clutter accumulated there on a daily basis. Most of us have clothing that is worn once and then occupies an ambiguous state, not dirty enough to wash, but worn and therefore not quite right to return directly to the wardrobe. This clothing tends to end up on chairs or on the floor or draped over the end of the bed, and it is one of the primary sources of daily bedroom disorder. The solution is simple and requires only a few hooks or a small standalone rail. I installed 3 hooks on the back of my bedroom door, and these are exclusively for clothes in this between state. A pair of trousers worn for a day but not yet ready to wash. A cardigan that will be worn again tomorrow. A dressing gown that does not live in the wardrobe but needs a permanent home. The hooks change the visual state of my bedroom immediately because the clothes that had previously been draped over the chair now had a proper, contained, designated home. The chair in the corner of my bedroom, which had been functionally a closed storage unit, is now used as a chair. The floor is clear, the bed is unobstructed. 3 hooks, and a significant portion of the daily disorder simply stopped. Tell me in the comments, do you currently have a designated spot for clothes that are between wearings, or do they tend to land wherever is nearest? I think this is one of the most universal bedroom clutter problems, regardless of age, and I am curious how everyone else manages it. Step 6. Extend the declutter beyond the wardrobe to the whole bedroom. The wardrobe is the most significant area of bedroom clutter for most people, but it is not the only one. Once the wardrobe is addressed, I want to encourage you to extend the same process to the other areas of the bedroom. The bedside table, the chest of drawers, the space under the bed, and any other surfaces or storage areas in the room. The bedside table is worth particular attention. For a person who lives alone, the bedside table is one of the most personal surfaces in the home, and it has a strong tendency to accumulate whatever happens to be in your hands at the end of the day. Reading glasses, books in various stages of being read, medications, hand cream, a notepad, a glass of water, the television remote, a phone charger and sometimes the phone itself, a spare cushion from the bed, and within this collection, usually several items that have no particular reason to be there and that have accumulated through the path of least resistance rather than any deliberate choice. I cleared my bedside table completely. Then I put back only the things I actually use in bed or immediately upon waking. Everything else found a different home. The surface that remained was clear enough to breathe, and the bedroom immediately felt calmer. Under the bed is the area of the bedroom that most consistently becomes a repository for things that do not have a clear home elsewhere in the house. In theory, it is useful storage. In practice, it is often where things go to be forgotten. I pulled everything from under my bed, dealt with each item by the same process as the wardrobe, and made sure that whatever went back under the bed was actually stored there deliberately, rather than hidden there to be dealt with at some indefinite future date. Please subscribe if you have not already. Every week I share what I've learned about decluttering and organizing specifically for this chapter of life, and the audience who gathers in these conversations is one of the most warm and supportive I have encountered anywhere. Step 7. Maintain the bedroom with one small daily habit. All of this work is most valuable when it lasts, and the way to make it last is not to do another full declutter in 6 months, but to maintain the current state with one very small daily habit. Every morning before leaving the bedroom, I spend 2 minutes restoring the room to its good state. The bed is made. Anything that drifted from its home the previous evening is returned. The bedside table has nothing on it that should not be there. The floor is clear. 2 minutes. Not a cleaning session, not a tidying project. 2 minutes of deliberate restoration that keeps the room at its good baseline without ever allowing it to drift back to the state it was in before the declutter. The reason decluttered spaces tend to fill up again over time is not that decluttering does not work. It is that decluttering without a maintenance habit is a one-time event rather than a new way of relating to the space. The maintenance habit is what makes the difference permanent rather than temporary. It is the difference between a bedroom that was organized once and a bedroom that stays organized. 2 minutes every morning is not a burden. It is barely noticeable as a separate task when done consistently. But across weeks and months and years, it is what keeps the bedroom the calm, personal, uncluttered space that it is supposed to be. The room where your day begins and ends in something genuinely close to peace. I want to hear from you now. In the comments, tell me which part of your bedroom is the area you most want to address. Is it the wardrobe full of things you have not worn in years? Is it the bedside table that has accumulated too much? Is it the chair that is secretly a closed storage unit? Tell me specifically, because naming it is always the first step to doing something about it. And your honesty might be exactly what someone else reading these comments needs to hear to take their own first step. And please subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. Every week I share honest, practical guidance from experience on creating and maintaining a home that is genuinely calm and organized at every stage of this life. Not theory, what actually works. I will see you next week.